As a diabetes doctor, I was quite surprised to learn that Michelle Trachtenberg's cause of death was complications from diabetes mellitus. Here are my thoughts and speculations. So let's first lay out what we know. Michelle was 39 years old and found alone and unresponsive in her New York apartment on a February morning. Several news sites reported at that time that she had recently underwent a liver transplant. In today's news, the New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner announced that they had determined that Trachtenberg died naturally as a result of complications of diabetes mellitus. So my first thought was to figure out what type of diabetes she might have had. Now, diabetes mellitus is actually a general name that can apply to any form of diabetes. So quick teaching point, the two most common types of diabetes are type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition where your body's immune system attacks and destroys your ability to make insulin. And type 2 diabetes is a metabolic condition where your body becomes resistant to insulin. So bringing it back to Michelle, it would be uncommon for type 2 diabetes to lead to a sudden, unexpected death, and being lean and younger does raise the possibility that she might have had type 1 diabetes, either known or unknown to her. Type 1 diabetes can lead to sudden death due to taking too much insulin, leading to low blood sugar, or not taking enough insulin, leading to a serious condition called diabetic ketoacidosis. A very important detail here is that Michelle recently had a liver transplant. There are many conditions which can eventually require a liver transplant, one of which is autoimmune hepatitis, which is also associated with type 1 diabetes since they're both autoimmune disorders. Also, transplant recipients have to take immunosuppressive drugs to keep their immune system from rejecting the donated organ. These medications can have the undesired effect of leaving the body more susceptible to serious infections and can also lead to a form of diabetes called post-transplantation diabetes, which closely resembles type 2 diabetes. But even then, I wouldn't expect post-transplantation diabetes to lead to a sudden death in a 39-year-old, which is why one of my last points is that death certificates and causes of death are not as literal and straightforward as you'd think. The wording from the examiner's office was complications of diabetes. While this might lead you to assume that she passed from high blood sugar or low blood sugar, this actually just means that diabetes was a step in the path of whatever ultimately led to her death. For example, someone that died from a heart attack or an infection like pneumonia or even kidney failure can be listed as having died from complications of diabetes. So to summarize, I think one possible scenario is that she had type 1 diabetes, which she might not have even been aware of. Alternatively, she could have had something like type 2 diabetes, possibly triggered by immunosuppressive medications from a recent liver transplant, which then makes her more vulnerable to things like severe infections or heart attacks or strokes. Regardless, let this be an important lesson to not take diabetes lightly. It's the seventh leading cause of death in the United States, and it's known as a silent killer because people often don't realize they have it. So make sure you get your health checked regularly, and if you already have diabetes, that you are working with your healthcare team to manage it.